All right. Looks like we are now live on YouTube, and we will call the meeting of the Old Town Laverne Business Improvement District to order on July 6th. And if you are watching on the YouTube stream, you can participate by sending any comments or questions email to planning@cityoflaverne.org. That's planning@cityoflaverne.org. And just send those at any time, and we'll be monitoring those and can answer your questions or comments. So let's go ahead and get started. I think we do have some minutes, right, Natalie?
Actually, we
No?
did not send, did we send them this time?
We did for the last meeting for June 1st.
Okay, but we failed to include the minutes from the previous meeting, so we're a little bit behind on those, and we just realized that. So the next meeting we'll catch up with the past minutes, but you do have the minutes from the previous meeting.
Okay. So do we have a motion to approve the June minutes?
I'll make the motion.
I approve.
All in favor? Aye?
Aye.
Aye.
All right. So you want to start off with the calendar items, Cool Cruise, Eric?
But I was expecting Craig Hoseo to be on this call. I invited him. I haven't heard back from him of why he isn't on. But obviously, at your last meeting, you decided to table this decision to this meeting to determine if you want to move forward with the Cool Cruise as a plan for August 22nd. So I don't know if you want to have a further discussion on that. Obviously, a month later, we're not really any closer to having a decision on group gatherings and probably even a step backwards potentially. So,
Well, why don't we see if he's going to join us? We'll give him a few minutes and jump to probably the most pressing concern right now is the D Street closure. So Eric, you want to give us a little background on how that happened?
yeah, so actually when this was put on your agenda, the point of the discussion was going to be that we didn't see a need for it to go forward because there really wasn't interest from the downtown businesses to do this. That was prior to the governor's new order, which restricted all indoor dining though. I'm glad it's on the agenda so we can talk about it openly. But as of the governor's order on Wednesday at 11 a.m., the city manager and myself immediately went into action to make contact with the businesses downtown, as many as we could, and then to start planning for the potential for closing the street by posting no parking signs. Jason with the university was also gracious enough to give us a formal approval to be able to utilize the Lot E parking lot behind Monero Square if we decided to do that. And then my discussions with the business owners, the restaurants in D Street, mostly were all in favor of doing it. They recognize that this meant new changes and that more restrictions for the restaurants, and that those without patios especially, or even the ones with patios, still were going to have limited ability to continue their operations as they've been for the previous couple of weeks. So we made the decision that quickly that for at least this last weekend, especially with the holiday on Saturday, that we would temporarily close the street for outdoor dining. There were some hiccups for sure. One major one was we put out the picnic benches, but we didn't originally assign staff to be out there to wipe them down. So people were reusing tables without wiping them down, which which isn't recommended. So we had to scramble and get some part-time staff out there to make sure they were on duty, basically, sort of cycling around, wiping down the picnic tables. We also obviously don't have any restroom facilities out there. So we rely on the restaurants to be able to use their restrooms or hand wash stations. And that's probably even more important than the restrooms, to be able to people wash their hands before they get a meal or eat a meal. And not having those was, so there were things that could, and there's the lack of shade too. We recognize many of the restaurants put out some of their own easy ups, and we just kind of let that happen to make sure that there was shade for the day during the day. But for the most part, I think though it was well received.
So Eric, a couple of questions. If someone is serving, well, first of all, did any of the restaurants get the ABC permission?
Well, Lordsburg did, and I'm not sure if 4th Street ended up getting the approval for the Transportation Plaza area. Initially, so 4th Street had originally applied for sidewalks dining such as Chase's, and Lordsburg was in the process of getting before this happened. 4th Street had asked about 4th Street had asked about being able to put tables inside of Transportation Plaza. And our initial response to that was no, that we weren't going to allow that. That what the direction was for the sidewalk dining, Transportation Plaza is a public plaza, and that really not devoted seating for either 4th Street or warehouse if they were interested in that. But as of Wednesday, we basically decided to put some of our picnic tables in that area for open seating. But obviously they catered mostly to 4th Street, maybe some warehouse takeout people as well. But otherwise, Lordsburg did get the approval from ABC to go into the street. That's why their section was taped off separately, and what they were using their own tables and chairs in that area. And then they were, I'm trying to see here. Matt's trying to log in. And then they were serving people in that area.
So were they responsible for wiping down their own tables?
Yes, and Roberta's also put out their own tables and chairs. Hey Matt, do you want me to kick the other one out of the room? You're logged in twice and you're muted as well.
Sorry, had some trouble connecting this morning.
You're cloned. And then one last question. In order to serve alcohol outside, they had to have food ordered or food at the same time, right?
That's my understanding, yes.
Okay. Okay, questions, comments?
I have a question on the transportation section. They didn't have any problem with the picnic tables being on dirt?
Who's they?
Huh?
Who is they?
Well, anybody, in other words, because of the health department, we're going to be okay having food out there because that's a dirt area?
It's the health department permit, it's a to-go area, so it's no different than if they wanted to sit on the bench at the Monero Square where it's sitting on grass. So they're not serving out there. It's
okay.
Really a to-go area for now, as it's
well, that's
set.
perfect to hear. Good. I'm glad to hear it.
Nikki,
That was my only one.
Go ahead, Marianne.
No, you go ahead, Mickey.
Oh,
I'm still trying to log into this thing.
as for my business, it was hard to tell because I was only open Thursday and Friday. Being the 4th was Saturday, I was closed, and I'm closed on Sundays. One day it was very slow for us. One day it was not. The comments from customers were very positive. So they were happy that, the restaurants were being helped out. So it's kind of too early for me to tell if it hurt my business. I don't know that it helped it. But I mean, I want to be a team player. But I was hoping, is Maria on this call? Was wondering how it affected her business. And also I was wondering about Kenny as well, because I think he's just doing to-go orders right now. I don't think he's having any, he didn't participate in the outside seating except for people that I did notice were at the tables. The first day, and I know because it was just the first day, I took pictures like every hour just to kind of get a feel of it. Of course, Roberta's was busy in the morning, and then there was a big lull, and then probably around 4 o'clock, Lordsburg got busy. I drove by a couple of times during the weekend, and it seemed like it was Lordsburg was busy pretty much the whole time, it seems like. Roberta's again seemed busy in the morning. So I don't know if Wingstop ended up participating or not, but for sure the 2 restaurants were participating, and maybe somebody knows if Wingstop, participated or any of the other restaurants. I think Cafe Wang maybe the second day set up tables, but that was the day I was busy, so I wasn't able to walk down there and actually see. Does anybody know Any information about that?
Cafe Wong was only to-go orders prior to this anyways. They hadn't ever set up for indoor dining. So when I talked to them on Wednesday, they understood and they were going to basically still serve to go, but tell their customers that they were free to eat outside. I know on Sunday, I saw that they had taped off some of the areas in front of them, and I think they moved some of their tables out there as well for their own customers. But I don't think they were serving people though.
Maybe
Okay. And
if
what about Wingstop
House of Wings.
or House of Wings? Sorry.
So the same thing. I think they anybody that had to go orders, they could sit on the patio or picnic tables, but they weren't serving people outside.
So it was just the 2 restaurants that were serving people outside.
And a little bit of 4th Street on their sidewalk area, and then
Right.
transportation. Yes, the 2 businesses that definitely took most advantage of it were Roberta's and Lordsburg.
The rule is that they have to individually apply for an ABC footprint exception under the catering changes of COVID under the state mandated ABC.
Never
And
mind.
they make you draw an area that you're going to be serving alcohol in, and it does not have to be continuous. So that's good for you, Matt, at 3rd Street Wine Shop. If you wanted to put tables out there, they would allow. And the good news was Mike McAdams was down there Friday morning at 8 a.m. and by noon he had his approval. I was in there at about 8:45 for the Exactly patio approval, and by noon I had gotten approval. That's unheard of. That doesn't happen with state-run agencies, that they stamp approval on maps that quickly. But it's a 2-page deal. You have to have a formal map, show them where you're going to drink. So I'm not sure House of Wings did it. I know Spooner's doesn't serve alcohol, I don't believe. Nikki, right? I don't think they do.
They do.
I don't even think
Oh, do
they're
they?
open.
They do. Yeah, they were open. Well, the doors were open when I went by, but on Wednesday, I don't know if they stayed open.
And then the sushi place, I don't know if did he participate at all?
I don't believe so.
Okay.
No.
But if they do that, then they can serve out there. Funny you say the eating thing, Craig. This morning, the ABC has now defined a meal.
Yep.
And it is not sandwiches and salads. It has to be a meal. It's not pretzels or guacamole. And I just sent it down to Dory. I can forward it to you guys. It's crazy. Almost like they've defined it as a course. It has to be like the main course of a meal to reach their definition of serving alcohol. So
You say you can't order a sandwich salad combo? That's not considered a meal?
nope, they define sandwich salad specifically, and then they go on the list: peanuts, pretzels, pizza bites, etc., etc., etc. Long list of food items that are appetizers to them,
No.
not meals, as unapproved meal designation to serve alcohol. So I belong to the ABC's notification center. I highly recommend all restaurant owners to do that, where they get notified immediately of all, declarations from the ABC about the rules. And that one came down this morning. It was pretty revealing. Marianne, we can see you.
I know, but my sound is not on here yet, so I'm like on both spots,
Oh, I see.
trying to figure out how, because it's running really slow, so it's like I can't get I got in, but now I can't get my sound to work, so I'm working on it, but I'm listening. As soon as I get it, I'm gonna hang up.
But my overall take was there was positiveness from the downtown closure. People kept coming in. Oh, that's great. It's great that they did it. It's wonderful. So I only heard a few little minor things, and that were negative, and they weren't worth repeating here. So I'd say continue it. But again, we're kind of on the outside looking in at Chase's, but I'm very supportive of whatever the downtown wants to do.
Eric, can you read the communication you got?
Thank you.
Somebody crashed.
No, that was me. I was able to hang up.
Eric, I don't know if you heard me. Can you read the email you received?
Yeah. I won't be able to attend the meeting, but the street closure was a big success. I'm sorry, this is from Roberta Virgin from Roberta's Village Inn. I won't be able to attend the meeting, but the street closure was a big success. Our customers were very impressed. I'm hoping it will continue for at least the next 3 weeks. Thank you. There were other conversations happening through a group email, but there wasn't especially public comment. Any public comment to be read during this meeting would have to be emailed to the website that or the email address that Craig mentioned, which is planning@cityoflaverne.org. And so if you have comments on that, please email those in. I'm monitoring my emails right now on that. In addition, since the last agenda went out, the city's made a determination that moving forward, we will not be reading emails as public comment, that if anybody wants to participate during the public comment process, they will need to email in their phone number and we will call in and they could speak over speakerphone during the public comment period. So this will be the last meeting that will read any emails that are sent in. They will be emailed to all board members as soon as we receive them. So the board members will have an opportunity to read them. They can comment on them if they'd like individually, and the emails will become part of the public record as the minutes for the next meeting. But any participation will have to happen over a phone call.
Good. Couple of observations. I think I went by there and walked through pretty much every day after it went up. And obviously Roberta's in the morning through lunch, and Lordsburg afternoon, and definitely evening were, I'd say, the two biggest beneficiaries. I actually was very impressed at after dark. I forget what day it was. Maybe it was Friday after dark, because with the tree lights on and people out in the street, it was a pretty cool look, you know. And I could see people. It'd be a nice place for people to be out walking around, hanging out a little bit. I also have taken note that, you know, with more tables out on the sidewalks, it's not directly related to the street closure, but like 4th Street and Roberta's has more tables on the sidewalks. It gives the old town a kind of a cafe vibe going on. And I think that's a real positive. Probably the biggest negative, just as far as the setup, is when we're in heat like this, it's just, even with shade, it's being on the asphalt, it's pretty oppressive out there. So maybe if you're drinking, it doesn't bother you as much, but I don't know that I'd want to sit out there and enjoy a meal in the middle of the day. But the evenings and the mornings, I think it's really good. So it seems like the question is, does the benefit to the few balance out with any possible negative impacts to especially the retail, like Mickey's and some of the others? So any more comments on observations on this?
There are, I don't know if you guys have seen them, there are portable water-filled spray misters that they use in Palm Springs quite a bit. And it's a self-contained unit that fills with water, and it's a fan that oscillates and sprays a mist, and they're significant. I mean, if you're in the direct rain, you're going to get wet. But if positioned properly, makes it kind of an attractive thing to sit at a distance, and it definitely takes the air from, 100 down to 85, and that feels like it's cool. But shade in the middle of the day for sure. It does look like it's very empty in the middle of the day, and it seems almost like, why are you doing it in the middle of the day? But in the morning on the east side and then the evening on the west side, it's great for those restaurants that participate. So my suggestion would be, if it's long-term, maybe the city could invest in renting those misters and/or the divot, and/or more umbrellas or more easy ups that would, secure more shade. But otherwise, I think it's a success. I mean, maybe we need to put those skateboarders in there. The skateboarders seized it one afternoon and were going crazy in there. That was a negative when the flea market was on before, so I don't know, but I got great comments back from it.
Matt, any comments?
Yeah, it seemed like people had a positive reaction to it. All the customers that I was talking to were excited that there was more seating available. I saw more parking on 3rd Street. There was more foot traffic of people walking around because D was closed, I assume. So I don't know that parking was an issue. I didn't hear any complaints about that. I think it's a positive for the restaurants. I don't know. I haven't heard too much from the retailers if it has been a big negative. Is the discussion now how long we're going to keep it?
Well, that's one thing, but let me ask you this, Matt. Would you,
Yeah.
as an outside business, consider bringing tables and drawing your map for the ADC and serving wine on tables designated in a 3rd Street wine shop area? Or would you not do that?
Within the barricades on D?
Yeah.
We'd consider it. Right now, staff is the biggest issue. So if I have to staff those tables, probably not.
Okay.
We're trying to get by with as little labor as we can. But we are putting tables on the sidewalk because that can be done by the same people who are at the shop.
Yeah,
There'd also be an investment in just serving out there. I mean, you'd have to have a way to keep wines at temperature and.
Mickey?
I was just gonna say, I think it's too early to determine a definite time. My suggestion might be to go another week and meet again on Monday. Because it was a kind of a weird week, it was a holiday weekend. And I don't think Wild Earth is even open yet. And I don't know when they're gonna open, but I think that we need to maybe give it one more week and then revisit it. At least for the retailers, I would think. Obviously, it's helping Lordsburg, it's helping Roberta's. Kenny, I don't know, because his customers now have to park further away and then walk. So I don't know if that's helping him or not. And maybe he'll decide to go, to use that outdoor area. But I kind of think it's really too early to make a decision like, let's keep this up for 3 weeks or let's keep it up for a month or whatever. Again, all I heard was positive things. I think the community is really excited that we're supporting the restaurants. But in the end, if it's only helping 2 restaurants, which I don't think that's all it's doing, but just at the glimpse of this weekend, that's what it appears to be helping. I think we need to take the whole downtown into consideration. But I'd say let's give it another week and see what happens, and then revisit it, and then say, okay, this is great. Let's close for 3 weeks or until the governor, releases this order and go from there. But I kind of think to decide today is maybe too early. That's my.
No, I think that's appropriate. We did have a couple of emails. I know they're not official communications, but I'm going to share what in effect was told to us, especially because they come from 2 non-restaurant owners. One, Rick at the real estate office. He was very positive, said it had a European style feel to it. One comment, he said there were a lot of people down there, he noticed, looking at the real estate listings and walking around. Foot traffic, like Matt was saying. And then also from Amanda at Roots, she commented on more people in the streets, kids riding bikes, that it just had a nice positive feel to it with that.
Right.
One thought, if I could just say one more thing. one comment I did hear from a couple of different people was people weren't real sure what was going on, especially at first, and whether anything was open. And if you drove by in the middle of the day and nobody's out there, you'd probably wonder what is happening. So we might want to look at getting a couple of banner signs to put at the two ends, just something simple, businesses open, outdoor seating, something like that.
I agree, because it almost looks like it's under construction if nobody's in the street. People,
Right.
you drive by and, which Bob had come in my store and said that if we decided to keep it, that maybe he would get some trees in and definitely some signage, and which I think is a great idea. I don't know if they want to do that for just 1 week, or we just hang a sign for right now. But again, I agree. It kind of looks like we're under construction.
Do we also need to put up that the lot that ULV is letting the public use?
Yes.
Because people don't know that they can use any of the ULV lots.
Yeah,
It's
some
been on
signage.
a post that the city posted.
Yeah, so if we put the sign up that says businesses are open, additional parking lot number, whatever, so that they know they can park in there, because otherwise there's no sign there that says they can. They think they're going to get a ticket.
Right.
Well, they park at Chase's.
Well, good. Makes it look like you're busy.
I had a comment. I'm sure that's correct, Mickey. Maybe a week revisit, but 1 week in, probably for printing and cost of signs, can't we just commit to going through to the governor's requirement on the 21st? Because it goes July 1st to the 21st. It's a lot of expense the city already put out for public works. If we make the commitment now for the 3 weeks and then evaluate the extension after that, or maybe have a meeting at the end of, maybe next Monday and make a decision that would it continue after the 21st? I mean, Erica, is there any commitment that the city has made in the costs they've already spent in barriers?
No, but this extra week, we are assessing what it would take for us to temporarily reopen the street. So let's say if this week we see that the week isn't nearly as successful as it was on the weekend or Friday, Saturday nights, to simply swing those barricades in, take over a couple parking spaces on each end of the street, but reopen the street to traffic. But we have to probably empty out half of each of those K-rails of water to be able to move them with the pallet jack, and then we're still taking up parking spaces, and obviously and moving the picnic tables out of the area or back into more parking spaces. So that labor, we're trying to assess what that would be as a compromise if that's what your decision is to move forward. But it's still going to be a lot of work, to where I think Mickey's idea is a good one, in that this week we leave it closed and see how that goes. Because that way next Monday you can make a decision on if you want to explore the temporary closure and closure on the weekends only, or reopen it up the street altogether, or keep it closed, just depending on how things go. The cost of the banners is going to be like maybe $100 each, so it's not too much. So I would say, Chris, I wouldn't be too worried about that, to where maybe we could even find a reuse for them if we decide to not keep the street closed, to put them up somewhere else, just saying businesses are open during this time. So I think we should move forward with making those banners so we can get them as soon as possible.
Yeah.
Is there a thought that you could close the parking but leave the thoroughfare of D Street going? Is there any discussion of that as an option?
I had considered that as another option, so we could have that seating just in the parking spaces. That means we have to do that K-rail down both sides of the street all the way. So it's even more K-rail, I think, than what we have now. So, but that's another option that we can consider. It would actually reduce the amount of patio seating that Lawrenceburg has now. I was looking at that. They're extending into the street where their area that they set up in. Same with Roberta's. And whether they could go wider versus as far out, I don't know. And I don't know what Lawrenceburg's permit with ABC, the area that they showed on it, and if they'd have to amend that to go a different shape.
But that also wouldn't address the
The parking
takeout
issue.
places and retail places concerned for
Yeah, it just allows drive-through, so I don't know what the point of that would be. I think you might as well just keep it closed to traffic.
Do you agree with that, Mickey, that there's no benefit in having pass-through traffic without being able to park?
I kind of agree. And I kind of think as a patron, I would not want to sit where cars were going by that closely, to be honest with you. I know Glendora's doing that, but it just seems like it's not as safe. And I know those K rolls are super heavy, so that's probably not an issue, but I think it may not. I would just say close the street completely.
Like it is.
But I mean, it's an option if, let's say, this week it's not benefiting, it's only benefiting Roberta's in the morning and Lordsburg at night. Well, then maybe we do that. But I kind of think we should try it out for at least a week and see how it works with the street completely closed, but definitely signs up. Because again, people think, the whole street's closed.
Right. So any other comments? Jason, did you have any observations?
I was there on Saturday and it looked to be pretty successful, but I think you're right with the heat. I think it's going to be very limited in the afternoons, probably going to wait to the evenings.
Right.
It seemed to be popular in the morning.
Well, I will
I
say
have a
that,
question.
no, go ahead. Go ahead.
I have a question about the water stations that Eric brought up. So is the city going to supply those, or is that just something that we noticed and
If this
we're not
is,
going to?
yeah, I mean, I don't know if we're going to move forward with it, if we're only going to think about this for another week potentially. But
Okay.
we would probably contact Waste Management to see the ability of getting those placed out there if we're going to go beyond the week. We might decide to just do that for this week anyways, if it's not a big deal with Waste Management. We haven't had that call yet. So it could happen this week. We might wait till your decision next Monday to determine how we move forward with water stations.
So those aren't porta potties though included, right? They're just hand washing stations.
That's all remains to be seen. I think at the very minimum it'll be the hand washing stations. I think the porta potties make a different appearance and have to be cleaned out, and so I think hand washing stations though would be more manageable.
Those are very easy to deal with, and especially the restaurants that have designated areas. They can participate with things like that, or even sanitizer stations, or other ways they can participate. So any other comments on this? If not, sounds
Greg,
like
real fast, just for the record, that you referenced the email from Amanda from Roots, but Leah from the chamber actually emailed it into planning, so I need to read it verbatim. So this is Amanda from Roots. I got nothing but positive feedback from all my customers. It's not just the people dining, it's also the kids riding bikes in the street, people walking their dogs, and being able to walk down the middle of the street was great to see from our community. Anything to help out our restaurants and small businesses in a positive way is very much appreciated. Great job on the city's part for getting this done, Amanda.
good.
Right.
So if no more comments, maybe a motion to revisit this in a week.
I make a motion to revisit in a week.
Mary
I
Ann?
second.
Seconded. All in favor? Aye.
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 And then
I do
Eric,
have a question. Do you want me to get with Laverne Printing and get a couple banners made up, and I'll send the artwork out for approval?
Eric, do you want to do that, or do you want the city to?
Yeah, I think the city would probably take that on. So let me do that. If not, Mickey, I'll be in touch with you.
Okay, great.
I'll let you know either way.
do you
Okay.
have some parking? Are there parking signs directing them to the university lot?
Not yet. We had talked about what we would do with that. I think having a note on the banner would probably work. But I think we need to have some kind of just temporary signs at the driveway entrances
Right.
to be saying public parking.
Right. Good. Awesome. Sounds good. So we'll just keep going. And this didn't have city council approval, right? So,
Not yet, no.
okay. All right. Well, thank you for coming in on your vacation, Eric, to get this rolling. Okay, so let's go back up to or the discussion of the events now for Cool Cruise. Have we had any further communication with Craig and
No,
since our last meeting?
no. But Craig, you and I talked, so if you want to just kind of go over what we had discussed.
You know, this 3-week restaurant and other reclosing deal certainly doesn't help. Eric was saying that if the Cool Cruise is going to move ahead, it really needs to go to City Council. I think you said on the 22nd of
20th.
July. Yeah, 20th. And for their approval, which is before our next regular meeting. I have doubts as to whether this is going to be allowed. It still needs the governor's approval for the next stage to have events like this anyway. But in anticipation of the chance that could happen, maybe the course of action would be to go ahead and ask the council to give provisional approval on the 20th, so that if it can happen, the ball is already rolling. If it doesn't come to pass, then there's no harm in that.
So it's scheduled on the 22nd of August, provisional date, right?
Correct.
Okay. So we would ask the council on July 20th to provisionally approve it if we get formal authority from the county or the state that we can have it. And then when would we let Cool Cruise knows on our August meeting?
Yes, well, if you remember, Craig said that's his drop dead date anyways. He said August 1st. Your meeting in August is August 3rd. So I'm guessing the 3rd could probably be the drop dead date officially. I haven't talked to him again, but assuming that he can wait till Monday the 3rd to make that decision, then at that meeting, we could officially decide whether to cancel it or not.
Well, I can say one thing. I had a brief conversation with some people on restaurants that are going through this trying time of dine-in being disallowed. If for some reason COVID, infections continue at the rate they are, the hospitalization goes up. There has been a pretty good spike at Pomona Valley. One of my nurse customers told me, beds and ventilators. If that continues, I think the state would move to continue the order of not allowing dine-in. If that happens, I think that's a death knell for the Cool Cruise. I just don't see us taking away D Street dining for cars. Things could happen before then, but I'm not sure we would be benefiting the business district, but that's one view.
Well, it seems like the bottom line, when is the next council meeting? Would that be on the 3rd also, August 3rd?
Yes.
Potentially, yes.
So I guess potentially we could wait until that day, but you'd need to have it on the council meeting already. You'd prefer to do it on the
The report's got to be done before that, so I'd rather, and it's a street closure. There's a plan that has to get circulated. We have to have an internal meeting, so
okay.
I'd rather keep it on the 20th.
So really the options are cancel it or ask the council to proceed provisionally if it's permitted at their 20th meeting, July 20th.
But then we'd be still waiting till August 3rd to tell Craig that yes or no? Okay.
It's a mutual decision, right? He actually can make the decision unilaterally if he like. He is the promoter. But I think it's good that we're talking with him and making the decision together. And so I think the 3rd is definitely the day that has to be decided yes or no.
Yeah.
Okay. All right.
You have a motion for that direction?
I move that we ask the council to provisionally approve the car show in the event that August 3rd, Craig wants to still do it, and we're allowed to, by county and state action, to hold such events.
Need a
I second it.
Mary Ann, all in favor?
Yep.
Aye.
Aye.
Next item is the beer wine walk, and it seems like it's kind of the same situation. We don't know anything concrete as to whether we would even be allowed to have it yet. We are starting to run out of time for the promotion phase. I think we could probably wait until the 1st of August to, make that decision, but that really would be about the end of the time. So we'd have time to promote and sell and organize. But what do you think?
Table it till the third.
What is our final date before we can, where we say this is just not going to be able to be done, even if we're at the final end?
To me, it'd be the first of August. That's a little less than 2 months, and that's to promote it, sell tickets. That's a little tight, but I think we can still do it in that time. Nikki, what do you think?
I don't want to be a negative Nelly, but I don't really see how it will go. But who knows? It's another month away. We might as well just table it. But I'm kind of thinking.
What day?
What if we push it a month? Push it into the October, since the fair and all that's been shut down anyway.
Yeah.
The date right now we have is the 26th tentatively.
I think it's the last Saturday of September.
Yeah, September 26th. You're right. It doesn't look like it today, but things could change rapidly. I say we'd still leave it on the calendar and decide on August 3rd's meeting what the fate of the wine walk will be.
And maybe we don't do a wine and beer if we move it into October, and I guess we could kind of see how it goes. But the only problem is that's when all the Oktoberfests are going, but maybe they won't be going because we don't know what's going to be going on. So that's why it's hard to get the breweries in, because they're already committed in October. But again, maybe they're not committed because of COVID. So we might as well table it and talk about it again August 1st.
Good point, Mickey. I think that the breweries have pretty much had to shut down besides to-go orders, to where they're even, to the question, if they're even producing enough beer to even participate in a wine walk in September, because they have to make that out about a month and a half, 2 months out in terms of brewing the beer. If they're not open to their customers, they're probably not making a lot of beer either. So that's probably another problem of having a beer walk in September.
Yeah, so maybe we just focus on the wine walk, but then, you've got to get the people to come too. And normally a wine crowd is a little bit older than a beer crowd. I think the beer crowd would be more open to coming. So, I guess we just can wait until August 1st and see what happens, or 3rd, talk about it again.
I think enough breweries right now are remaking beer. I'm in contact with them quite a bit, and they feel like the future is in front of them. They're getting ready. You put your Marzen, which is your Oktoberfest beer, in kettles this month. So they're planning on it. It's just quantity. But we could probably get 5 or 6 of the main ones to participate, maybe not 18. With wine, I think that'd be fine.
Yeah.
If we could still do it. So we could decide that on August 3rd.
Okay.
Let's go ahead and table it. I tend to agree with Mickey's feelings that it's not real likely, but who knows? Let's see. Do we have a consensus on that to table this item till
Yes.
Yes.
August? Okay. I don't think we need a motion on that. Let's business assistance grants. Eric, want to update on that?
Just an update that technically the deadline was last Friday for applications for that. We opened it to tiers 1, 2, and 3, which includes all non-essential businesses, provided they have been open for a year and have 15 employees. And then restaurants as well, with priority given to the restaurants that have not received other assistance. But to date, I still don't think that we're at our maximum limit. So more than likely, we'll continue to push out the deadline to make sure we can use as much as to help our businesses as much as possible. I don't know what total we're at. I'm thinking we're close to 50, maybe 60 applications that we received. Some of them don't apply. And one of the biggest problems for us, and I think I mentioned this last time, is that when people apply, they're not submitting all the required documents, which then just means more legwork for us. Have to go back and talk to them and give more information, which delays the processing of those payments. So to date, we've only been able to put out a handful, maybe a dozen of the payments so far, just because of information loss. So
what are the documents that are so encompassing that they can't come up with it? It looked like it was a 4-page app to me.
It's pretty simple, but it's the employee verification stuff and the income level, that's kind of, I think, where the holeup's been. So we have to go back and check that. That's the most technical part of the review, to be honest. And so encourage businesses that qualify, go to our website, cityoflaverne.org. There's a big business assistance program grant, and click on there, and the details are there, as well as the application form.
Well, that's a lot better than it was. Participation. Good. Eric, do you have any other items for city business?
I do not.
University, Jason? How are you guys doing?
The university, we were planning to have a return of our staff in phases, 4 different phases, beginning July 15th. But with the recent uptick in corona cases, we are pushed that back to August 3rd. There's still some concern based on the evidence. I just had a meeting before this meeting, and are quite worried that we are not going to be able to have the face-to-face that we are looking for instruction. It seems like there's a lot of other universities and colleges that are now giving into teaching remotely. We know that this is not what is preferred by our customers, our students. So we're still trying to make every effort possible, but we also want to make sure that we recognize safety as well. The state and the county have not released any guidelines. They said that they will last week, but I think that that's just a signal to us that they're pushing back. So we're waiting and seeing. Meanwhile, we have everything in place as far as PPE, changing out our filters, changing the functions of our HVAC to have full fresh mode, doing all the social situations in all the classrooms, setting up outdoor classrooms. It's a huge effort, but we want to make sure that we're well prepared for the return. But we're crossing our fingers.
What about so I would guess that if students aren't coming back, that I forget what it's called, the restaurant, welcome back restaurant night would be canceled as well?
That would be the case. Right now, it's still being planned. We haven't made any final decisions, but we're just kind of taking it day by day.
Okay.
That's the end of August, right, that date?
Yes, it's last week of August.
Okay. Yeah, we're almost 4 months into this, and we're still wondering what's going to happen. Mickey, marketing, anything?
Well, I was thinking if we do decide to close the street, that maybe, or maybe even if we don't, maybe we should send out a postcard letting people know that pretty much we're open. And I know this changes day to day, so that's very difficult to say, we're open for outdoor seating when maybe it'll be canceled and people can sit inside. But I was just thinking, now might be a time to put out a postcard, just to shop Laverne or whatever you want to call it, eat, shop, drink in Laverne, whatever. So just some thoughts if anybody else thinks that's a good idea, or should we wait, or August is normally, July, August is vacation mode, but a lot of people aren't going on vacation. So maybe they would rather, come downtown and have dinner, or, shop in Laverne. So just a thought.
I think once we know the status of the closure downtown, I think a postcard is a great idea to get it out. To here's what we're doing, here's our time frame, and come down and support. I did have a question from a Foothill business about coming down to downtown and putting up for a period of time a table, a booth. Do we have any guidelines or thoughts on that? Because I will say, it looks fairly barren in front of several businesses that are not going to participate. So there is space if someone wanted to put up an easy up. What's our thoughts on that?
Are these restaurants or retail, or what is
This
it?
inquiry was a restaurant. Yes, it was. They were doing barbecue for the 4th of July, and they have a limited patio. And they said, I wonder if we could go downtown and do it for 4 hours on a weekend. And I went, I don't know. I'll ask the question. I mean,
So they'd want to cook down there?
yeah, bring a grill and put up a thing like, you know, butcher shop and throw out, you know, their fare for $3 or $4 a rib or whatever it is.
So they'd have to meet all the requirements like a street fair type thing with
Well, the catering requirements have lightened in this environment. So yes, they would have to do that. But the question is does the DIBID want
right.
non-DIBID members participating in the street that's closed as an attraction for people to come down? Mickey?
Well, I think we have to consider, we've got the new wienery opening up, so there would be a conflict with them, wouldn't it?
I mean, that would be my thought. Like, I wouldn't want a jeweler setting up in front of my jewelry store out on the street. So it would be if the restaurants, I mean, I get it that it would maybe bring more people down, but I think we have to take the feelings of the downtown into consideration.
So
I mean,
Well, I think I'm not opposed to it, but I would think that whatever they barbecue has to not be something that other people are serving. So that other people, you know what I mean? Because we're trying to get everybody to come down here in a new situation, and we have to look at who's participating downtown. And if we, you know, the butcher's a great shop, but then they would have to be careful what they're serving so we don't have a conflict, especially with a new business trying to open up.
Right. Eric?
So yeah, the city's perspective is that we shouldn't have any booths set up in the area. We can't make this an event. Events are not allowed to happen under the state order. So this is simply expanded outdoor dining for the existing businesses. We close the street for tables. It's not an event. We even talked about, there's some comments about, oh, this would be great if we had some live music playing. We can't even think about putting live music in because now it's an event. And even though it'd be nice ambiance, this is simply expanded outdoor dining space for people that want to eat outside, so they aren't eating inside. So we're not in a position to really support any booths within the area.
Okay.
Yeah.
What if, Eric, I have a question on that. So what if I wanted to put a booth out with, you know, my jewelry? Or I noticed that Maria, they brought a rolling rack of clothes out and put it on the sidewalk, which I thought that was great because it made people realize, oh, there's a little clothing store. So is that allowed? Or is it just for the restaurants?
Provided that you're directly in front of your store, you're only selling your store's product, and you're not blocking any path of travel for ADA access, then the city won't be telling you that you need to bring that in. So because the street's closed, we want to make sure there's path of travel, but only directly in front of your store and a small amount of table or display area is going to be allowed.
Yeah.
What about like an easy up with something under the easy up?
So I think that they're kind of pushing it. I mean, there's no real rules for this. We're going as we're going.
Right.
Well, the idea again for the street closure is to provide outdoor seating for people to eat outside. That's why we're doing it. Not for a street fair, not for a yard sale, not for, you know, other display actions. It's really just for people to be able to eat outside.
Well, Eric, what if, because if nobody sets up in front of Mickey's store on the street, because are they kind of going in front of their own locations, or are we going to spread it out to where they're actually going to be set up in front of retail?
Well,
The way Mike told me is that his permit is only, because I told him, because when I left Friday night, there was a line going down in front of my store to get into his, you know, people waiting to be seated. So I said, you can certainly use, you know, stuff in front of my store. I'm not using the picnic table. And he said, well, he couldn't because his permit is only from his in front of his store. People could get to go sit at the picnic table, but for him to serve them, they can only be in front of his building.
So if we're not going to set tables actually up in front of retail, then couldn't the retailers do a small easy up on the street between the picnic tables?
We have picnic tables up and down the street. They're in front of everybody, really.
Okay.
Well, one thing I did notice, and again, I want to be a team player, but look, I obviously I'm looking out for my business too, is now that the street is closed, normally people would walk on the sidewalk and look into our store, look into the windows, see what jewelry we have. But now people are walking down the middle of the street. So it's closing us off a little bit. And I'm not saying everybody, obviously, but I did notice a lot of people just going down the middle of the street. So, and not that I'm even going to put up an easy up. Look, it's so hot out there. I don't know that I would do that, but I'm just thinking, to be fair to all the businesses, like if Maria wants to put a little easy up with her clothes outside, I would think that should be allowed because the restaurants, look, there's more than restaurants downtown. And I know there's not a lot more of us retail, but
But she
if we're
can do
getting
that.
closed off to parking and we're getting closed off to traffic, how are we supposed to survive during this?
And she can
Well,
do that. She can do that on the sidewalk. And we used to have, sidewalk sale days downtown. So as long as you keep it close to the building.
And correct me if I'm wrong, retail is not on the list of closure, right? You
No.
can still have people walk in your store, Nikki, right?
Correct.
Yeah. So there was a weird.
But there's no
list of-
parking in front of the store anymore. So that's the problem. Being downtown, we've all heard it. There's not enough parking. There's not enough parking. And again, look, I think this has been positive, and I've heard nothing but positive things from customers. But if this goes on 3 weeks, 3 months, it could get old for people saying, I couldn't find a parking place. Where am I supposed to park? Blah, blah, blah.
Right.
Because we already hear that without the street closure. So that's what I'm saying.
So going back to Chris's original question,
And we were closed for 2 months too, where restaurants had to go all the time. We were shut down for 2 months.
Well, now it's kind of reversed though. No one can come in our restaurants. You have to eat outside in the 100-degree heat. Or
Right.
they can go into your air-conditioned jewelry shop and shop. That's where it's weird. It's just completely different.
right.
What they've closed down now: zoos, dine-in restaurants, card rooms, museums. The list is funky. It doesn't make sense. I can go into a jewelry shop and shop around and have people stand right close to me and buy jewelry, but I can't sit in a dining room that's been COVID authorized 6 feet apart. So I have to serve.
that's
Oh no,
our
sorry, it's 105 degrees out. You got to sit outside. It's funky. It's weird. It's affecting us all. I get what you're saying, but I'm thinking to myself, how did they do that? Why is retail allowed? But nonetheless, it is.
When you figure that one out, you let us know.
Yeah.
Just going back to Chris's original question, I don't think we want to open up the door to businesses outside Old Town.
It was a question he asked.
Right.
I didn't know.
No, I
I
realize.
told him to write in on an email, but I just thought, if we can just spread the word, it's for the restaurants who's been closed down for dining, and if you can take advantage of it, of a retailer or some way with a boot, a tape out front, do it.
Eric, I would assume that if businesses in foothill shopping centers, restaurants wanted to have outdoor dining, I'm sure the city would work with them to try to create some.
I have a list of about 10 to 12 businesses that did that over the weekend that we will be making contact with them this week.
Yeah.
We have the same process basically that the restaurants downtown had before all this about going to the sidewalk, simple over the counter, no permit fee, approval from the city for them to expand, but we want to look at the areas where they want to expand to. And if they want to serve alcohol, they do get an ABC license to do so. But we will be making contact with them, but several of our businesses on Foothill did that over this weekend.
Yeah, so it's not anything unique to Old Town that we're getting something preferential that, so if there are no more comments on that, we're at 9:30. Do we have any public comments?
I have a report for the chamber to read on behalf of Leah for the chamber's update. So she wrote, Leah Skinner from the Chamber of Commerce. In anticipation of not being able to host our traditional Taste of Laverne this year, the chamber is planning a restaurant week for October 21st to the 25th. They're also beginning a new Shop Laverne gift card program. Chamber members will be able to sign up for free, and customers will be able to buy a gift card that can be used similarly to a MasterCard gift card at multiple Laverne venues. More information will be sent regarding the programs via email and newsletter in the coming weeks.
Okay. Any other comments from anybody on the call?
I'd like to just make a final comment. you guys know, and we've talked about it a little bit. The restaurant is in the process of being sold. The process has started. Dory Franco, Trisha Connor, and Sean Holt will be the new owners. Susan and I have purchased a small ranch, Craig, though it's not the acreage that Craig feels is definition of ranch. In Washington State, I will fly in there to close escrow at the end of this month, and we'll be up there the rest of the year. So I would stay involved in Zoom meetings, and obviously we'll be involved for the next 6 months to a year as the transition takes over for the new ownership. But I won't be in town. I'll be out of town. So as long as it's Zoom meetings, I can participate and communicate. Dory is interested in the Divot and wants to support whatever you guys need for, obviously, Chase's, the wine walk and the beer walk and the stroll and all those things. I don't know if year one they would be interested in being in on the committee or come to meetings because they're kind of overwhelmed with stuff. But that's something that you would consider in the future.
Yeah.
And then lastly, Exactly, which is Chase's new breakfast being branded as Chase's Exactly's breakfast. Will open probably on August 10th at the old Alosta Brewing location. And it's 6 to 10 gourmet egg sandwiches, really good Jones coffee from Pasadena, cold brew coffee, a lot of grab and go cool drinks. We will squeeze orange juice every day fresh, but that's it. A baked scone and a biscuit that we bake fresh every day. But very simple menu, straightforward, and a new egg shop in town. It'll be open from 6 to 11 daily, and the new owners are excited to take that over as well. We've had first right of refusal on that space, and so when Alosta threw the towel in, we had to kind of move quickly to secure it, and we're excited. Meanwhile, just so the confusion will continue, there is the patio outside of Exactly is now Chase's patio. It's been licensed to serve alcohol, and it'll continue to be licensed to serve alcohol. We're in the process with the city of the agreement for part of the sidewalk that Alosta had, and we'll continue to sign that over to us. And we'll serve dinners out on Exactly's patio in the evenings for Chase's. But it's not a new restaurant. It's Exactly is the branding of Chase's breakfast. So it kind of misses a lot of the independent rules that the health department has for a new kitchen and all that stuff. So it's been great being part of this group. I'd like to continue, but I understand being removed from Washington and not having a pulse on the situation as much. I'll let the board and people more relevant than me make decisions on my future involvement if you think it's best. But thank you all for your support.
Hey, Chris, when are you officially gone?
You know, the house closes on August 1st, and we'll travel up there to get keys and whatnot. Susan has some therapy appointments in Pasadena on experimental treatment through September. So it'll be a floating date sometime in September, probably.
Okay.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
And can you get Wi-Fi from that fly fishing stream?
Yes, there's plenty of Wi-Fi at the cabin. We checked out. Yes.
That's good. And a couple of other things. Just to confirm, I've heard that Keisha is not going to be reopening Duds and Doodads, and that Serendipity will take over that entire building. Is that for
That's
sure?
correct.
Yeah.
Yes.
Now she will have an online presence still, though, right, Nikki?
I don't think she has an online presence now. She doesn't have a website yet. She's in the process of working towards getting a website.
Okay. Okay.
We're going to try to do something together on the 15th, like a Facebook or Instagram Live with Keisha and also Third Street Wine, like our old Wine and Shine. So Keisha's going to come to my store and we're going to do something again online or on Facebook or Instagram. So we're working on that. And she's working on a website.
What about the new business that moved into next to Gina T's over there? Are they been reached out to or approached. It's a, what is that, Craig?
Moxie,
Yeah,
there's Moxie Hair Salon,
yeah.
and I don't know the other person. I forget what that is.
The speech therapist.
Speaks
Oh,
there.
okay.
I mean, we need to do we have a little welcome package, Craig, for the Vivid members or
Yeah,
those
it's
that we
you.
know that participate?
Wander down there and say hello.
Okay.
And then Eric, last thing, the wienery, which I've heard from a couple people that they think it's misspelled. But wienery, when is that? Any idea when that's going to actually open?
They had hoped to open this last weekend, but you know, as opening restaurants goes, it usually gets delayed. So they're now indicating middle to later this month. I haven't heard a specific date.
All right. Any last comments before we close out?
So we're meeting next Monday at 8:30 on Zoom.
Yes, right?
Can we set that up as an adjourned meeting, Eric?
Yes, you could adjourn to that meeting now. We can do it then.
Okay. Do you need a motion to that?
Yes, please.
We need a motion to adjourn this meeting to next Monday at 8:30.
Motion.
Jason,
I motion to,
was that Mickey?
yeah, I'll motion to adjourn this meeting until next Monday at 8:30.
And Jason, you had also. Okay, all in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Hi.
Great. Thank you, everybody.
So we'll get an
Thank you.
Have a
email.
good week.
Look for an
Bye.
email, Zoom code, right, to get on next
Yep.
Monday?
Yep.
Okay, thank you.
Bye.
Stay cool.
Bye.